Evening, folks. So you're feeling too busy to grow your business? That's the theme of tonight's show. Me and Jo's just been having a chat. So she is also going to be known as Waldorf, and I'm going to be known as Statler. We'll pick up on that reference later on the show. And without further ado, I hope you're all doing well, folks. If I can actually get my teeth back in, put those in. Let's kick off.
Hi there, welcome to today's Business Growth Club show. We are so pleased to have you here. The theme is growth marketing.
We're talking about actions and consequences today.
It's all about purpose.
Driving business growth with using KPIs.
We're talking money mindset.
The Growth Club, I mean, not to oversell it, but it's so well organised. So yeah, it was totally invaluable.
The Growth Club, coupled alongside with the Masters that I'm doing at Strategic Leadership at the moment, both of those things happening collectively have definitely transformed, and the Growth Club did have a massive impact for our business.
What is it that attracted you to come to the Growth Club in the first place? Let me just start off with that.
Well, because it was the two of you, basically.
So if you heard Mahmood's introduction there, you'll have heard him reference Statler and Waldorf. And if you know what show they are from, we would love to hear your thoughts. We'll tell you later on in the show, but let us know in the comments whether or not you're watching live or on replay. And that'd be great, because actually we've got a fantastic show again for you this week. We're thinking about, are you too busy to grow your business? It's one of the phrases, we're just too busy. There's loads of things we want to do, we want to grow, but just too busy. We hear it all the time, don't we?
Oh, absolutely. And it's, this old thing we've talked about on previous shows, people getting away with themselves. The Statler and Waldorf reference, by the way, if you know who they are, obviously you can cheat if you want and ask Mr. Google. For a second runner-up prize here, who do you think is who? Me and Joe, there is a reference to this, by the way, there's some meaning, but all will be revealed towards the end of the show. Yeah, too busy to get on with things. Making excuses, is it justified? Whatever that your rationale is on this, is we're going to show you and share with you 3 key ways to actually deal with that. And let's plug in to the banners. So Joe, if I just give it back to you while I actually figure out how to resurrect these banners.
Yeah, absolutely. So the thing is, like, your time and your focus are very limited resources. And sometimes we can be trying too hard to do things that aren't going to take us in the direction of growth. So whether or not you're aiming to hit your first million, or you're well beyond that and you want to scale up and be more profitable and grow, maybe you're planning on exiting at some point in the near or far future, then it's really about making sure you prioritize the right things for growth and move forward. So we're going to be talking about starting off by leveraging what you've got before you start to scale, and your unfair advantage and what that is. It's all moral and ethical and all of those things. Then how to be laser focused with your sales and marketing activities. And we'll be having a debate around, is social media a good use of your time or not? And if not, what you might be doing instead. And then just really how to carve out some time for growth so that you can make your plans happen. So I see the banners there up and running. So keep in touch with us. Yeah, mahmoodandjoe.com is where you can find us online. So let's start off, Mahmood, about leveraging before you scale. And it's really about making sure that you're getting value and really generating as much as you can from what you've got.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It's about optimizing. And I think there's a few things here for me. It's about, yes, you've got a proof of concept. So, you're actually in your business zone. You're actually doing things here. You've got to start thinking about clearly, what is it you do well? What is it why customers come to you? What is it they're buying off you? And there's an element of systemization in there. There's an element of, if you're just purely a bespoke company, a bespoke firm that actually does things to order, yes, you can upscale that. Damien Hirst does that in terms of the world of sculpture. Damien Hirst doesn't actually do a lot of the replication of the work, by the way. He has a team of Damien Hirst acolytes that do the work on his behalf. But largely, bespoke work is very difficult to upscale, not impossible. So again, have something replicable, and therefore you're going to be able to systemize it. You're going to be able to see where the processes are. And basically, that's where you're going to make some money as well.
Yeah, definitely. And it's so many people want to scale the business and just jump to that next big plan, which is fine. Having said that, it's really important to make sure that you are exploiting every opportunity that is right in front of your nose right now. So are you actually making the most of all the customers that you've got? Are you taking advantage of the opportunities that are right there in front of you? Are you charging the right amount and making sure that your margin's where it needs to be? So there are some things to look at in terms of immediate opportunities that will help you and help you generate the cash to go after some of the bigger stuff and the more different stuff that you might want to pursue. So should we have a think about unfair advantage? Because we've got a couple of slides, haven't we?
We have indeed.
So we have.
Should I have a bit of a drum roll?
Yes, okay. So we're going to talk about unfair advantage and what that is, first of all. And it's a condition, asset or circumstance. This is the definition. You can see it there, that puts you in a favourable business position, because how it is that the world, is not a level playing field. If you were born at the beginning of the school year, then you had an advantage over children that were born towards the end of the school year and in the same year as you, because you had that extra time to develop. If you are super tall with great coordination, you have advantages when it comes to being a great basketball player, so we all have different things that work for us. And I think it's, our duty and responsibility in a way to use those as beneficially as possible. So unfair advantages can't be easily copied or bought. They're not, it's not about being unethical, illegal or inappropriate. So what would you say? I'm going to put you on the spot now. What are some of your unfair advantages, Mahmood, do you think, either in business or for you as a leader?
Okay, there's a few things I would probably throw into there. And it made me think, actually, before I sort of give you my thoughts on here. If you remember those, I don't know if you've ever been in that situation, we've been at school, that school report that comes here where the school teacher says, could do better here. We always see it in life and in sport and other things as well, where we think people are wasting their talents here. So we're talking about exploiting that. So what do I think my unfair advantage is? I would say that I am, when I say personable, but I would say that I'm a straight talker there. So I'm not actually afraid if I think something is not quite right, either in somebody's behaviour, somebody's business practice, what they're doing in life. My wife calls it, I've got a Tourette syndrome part of my brain, that I'm not actually afraid to not be confrontational, but actually make that truth aware. So I'm not really a fluffy person in that respect. Another thing is I'm very good, I like to think of it certainly, of assimilating and converting very complex situations, certainly in the financial world, to stuff that people can actually understand easily. So that would be my sort of two immediate unfair advantages. And I'm going to throw that right back at you, Jo.
Yeah, well, thank you. And I'll answer that in a second. But so these unfair advantages are, we don't use them. I think you use them really well, but sometimes people aren't using them enough and they're thinking about scaling, but actually how can you use these advantages in your journey to scaling? So if we have a look at the next one, we've got a number of types of unfair advantage, and this is a list that Mahmood and I have created together, but there are all sorts of things. So your ideas, and I would say sometimes the ideas that I have are part of I'm really, as you know, really into ideas. Mahmood's into ideas as well, but business innovation is something that I'm super passionate about. And your ideas, nobody has your ideas in the same way that you do, because you have trillions of connections that have happened over your lifetime in your brain with your neurons, and that's how ideas are formed, through your experiences, how you do business, your values, what you know, your knowledge. Mahmood, I think I'm pretty much a straight talker as well. So I would say how I do business, but it's with great intention. It's with great intention. We do that with integrity. We know stuff. Work really hard to get qualified, as well as having direct commercial business experience and being in that arena. The brand that you have endorsements, the team around you, being a thought leader, your community. It might be a membership community. It could be a community of super fans, whoever that might be for you, your existing customers, being first to market, and having intellectual property that belongs to you, like patents and copyright, trademarks, those sorts of things. That can all help create an unfair advantage. So it's, you're very, very, you're doing very, very well if you've got all 12 of those. If you've got, 2 or 3, that's fantastic. And think about, are you using them to the best advantage that you can? Are you applying them?
It's weird, actually. I mean, I would say, Joe, within that as well, there's 2 things that come to mind. One, having them. I know what I'm particularly weak at or getting better at. But over the years, I suppose, in terms of having built up this unfair advantage, actually exploiting them and actually making the maximum value from that, I would certainly say my own toolkit and my own sort of business growth has been something I'm getting better at. And I think a lot of people do suffer from not actually exploiting that to their full advantage. And I would say you're sometimes privy to that as well. You've got great mindset, you've got great ideas. I love learning from you, but actually putting it out there, commoditizing, if you want, is something that we can all work on. And I would also say, for anyone out there, by the way, who thinks this stuff is easy, growth, me and Joe, it's essential, but it does have its pains, by the way. So actually, if you don't, upscaling and growing too rapidly can actually be quite disastrously if you don't actually manage it effectively. So please don't think that this is there's no pain in the journey. It's enjoyable because the payoff is the thing that, for me, is a good motivating factor. Yeah,
definitely. So I think sometimes when you're looking to scale or grow, when I say you, I don't mean you, Mahmood, I mean us, everybody in general, then we look at what other people are doing, and sometimes it can be really tempting to be a bit more like them, whereas actually looking at what can really work for us ourselves and looking inside and building on that is a really solid foundation, because nobody wants to be just a poor copy of somebody else or following somebody else's trail. We need to be really strong in ourselves and in our identity, in who we are as leaders, and in who we are as a business and what we stand for and what we're about. So this is why this stuff is really important, to get in touch with this for yourself and think, what can I do with that? How can I make even more of that? And start there, because it's part of the key success factors that will take your business onwards and upwards.
Yeah, and also it's much easier to be yourself and not copy somebody else as well. So we see that. I know we're going to be talking about social media later on in the broadcast as well, but it takes a bit of courage to actually sort of look at yourself more than you do in terms of competition.
Yeah, it does. And I think it's helpful to look at competition when just to get an idea of what's out there and help you be even better and raise your game and see what's going on. That's really, really fantastic. But to get comparisonitis, where we're always thinking, oh, they're doing really well, because that's the other thing. When you look at people's websites and their social media profiles, when you look at other businesses, then they're bound to show the best versions of themselves. So have a look at other things like customer reviews, look at Twitter feeds, for those businesses, and you're more likely to get a realistic snapshot of what's going on. But focus on you and doing you really, really well and creating that value.
And it's not tonight's broadcast. As you're saying that, it's making me think blue ocean. So perhaps a future broadcast we can pick up on that theme. Where my understanding of that is you focus less on your competition and you focus more on your industry and your customers. So if you're thinking what's Mahmood going on about, Joe's nodding her head to blue ocean, there's a treat coming up for you in a future broadcast.
Yeah, we shall say more about that for sure. So the other thing, once you're leveraging your unfair advantage, by the way, if you want to read more about unfair advantage, there is a book called Unfair Advantage. Our interpretation is slightly different from the book, but go and have a look at the book. You'll find it easily because that's what it's called. The other really good book to read that I recommend is Malcolm Gladwell's book, The Outliers, which looks at how people across different disciplines have achieved excellence. And we know you're into development. We know that you've got your business to a fantastic stage because of all the work, and that you've been doing and all the learning you've done about business and applying that learning. And if you're into being super successful and getting your business to the next level, then that will give you a great perspective on success.
And I think in terms of keeping in touch, sorry, Joe, in terms of keeping in touch, by the way, folks, at the bottom of the ticker, by the way, you'll see mahmoodandjoe.com. Check out our website, which is, developing. There's a mailing list there. We'd love you to be part of that so we can share stuff to you on a regular basis. And also, maybe we can get some feedback from you later on. But mahmoodandjoe.com is actually a registered domain, believe it or not. And it's also our website address as well. Yeah,
and I'm Joe, and you're Mahmood. I think
or if they can identify those two individuals we said at the beginning, we're not
Statler
going to say too much.
Yeah.
Yes, we will make sure that we tell you who those two characters are before the end of the show.
Now, so much time wasted. Sorry, everybody, on social media. Too much time down the drain. Too much time. Now, I believe in social media. I believe in social media where you've got a product or a service and you're making it really clear what it is. You're advertising. I can press the shop now button and go and buy that amazing washable pair of wide-fitting shoes, or those freshly squeezed detox cleansing juices, or that really cool jewelry, or whatever it is. Okay, so social media can sell. It can help with direct sales, and it can help with brand building and awareness and community building and all of those things. Great. We love it for that. Problem is, there's too many people just trying to build communities in a wishy-washy way on social media, and they're posting and doing all sorts of things when they could be doing something different to grow their business more sustainably and more rapidly with less headache. There's so much. Sorry, Mahmood, I will stop at the moment. I know I'm on my soap.
No. Go on.
You look at the vast majority of business advice that's out there at the moment is all about social media and how to use it. So get savvy, but don't go down the social media drain suck of time and energy and investment and end up with it taking you nowhere. You've got to be really smart about it to get it to work.
Yeah, I think that there's got to be some critical thinking here, isn't there, Joe? When you look at any tool, any resource that you're using to develop your business, and whether you're doing it for brand awareness, whether you're doing it to get access, whether you're trying to connect to your customer, social media is one tool amongst many others. Now, in terms of time suck, I wouldn't dismiss social media, but I actually think a lot of us, and I've been through that as well, have actually spent too much time. Look at how much time you might be spending on a channel. Let's say typically, if you look at the cost of your business, if you look at the cost of your time, let's say you even conservatively, so the cost of your time is about £20, £30 an hour, and that's at cost terms. If you then convert the time you spend on social media and convert that to an equivalent cost, look at the time that it's taking out your capacity to deliver, and then if you scale that up over a 52-week period, ask yourself, is there a better way that I can invest that resource in another way to communicate with my customer, to promote to my customer, to get a channel? And I think you'll find there's a lot of channels that are being neglected, and therefore one route to market is never the way to do that. And look, folks, it's just about liberating time and freeing up that capacity. It's not saying eliminate it completely, but be critical. And if you're not going to use social media, do it properly in the sense of who your audience is, who your customer avatar, what you want to get out there, measure it and be realistic with it as well. Yeah,
I completely agree. And I think most businesses and most brands, there is a case for every have a social media presence. I think that's important. What I think sometimes business leaders who are looking to scale and grow quickly sometimes get wrong is the ratio of time and the return on investment of the time and the energy they're spending on social media versus what it's giving them back, not just now, but in the long term. Now, we are big believers, aren't we, Mahmood, that you plant the seeds for today and then you harvest them. You plant the seeds today, you harvest them tomorrow. And social media is like that. But you've got to work out strategically what's in it for you, and why you're doing it, and what's the best way of doing it. And I think quite often you could, if you're posting every day, you might get away with, just try it, but you might get away with posting 3 times a week, and having no negative impact on followership, engagement, community, brand building, and all of those things. So just try it. I think in the online space, the people who are, there's a lot of how to do social media for business. There's a lot of that, and it's easy to get sucked into that being the thing. It is the thing for some businesses, but it's not the thing for all businesses. So I just think even just reducing my own scrolling and the time I spend looking at what everybody else is doing, I've reduced that massively, and it releases time and focus.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting you say that. I mean, I would take the same analogy to like a website. I mean, websites, have a reason to be there. But I think sometimes people think, I've just got to build a beautiful website, put it out there, and suddenly everyone's going to come and buy from me. Well, that's only one element of the whole thing. You've got to make sure all the things like, Google fundamentally, because it's still the biggest kid on the block, says user, query, I'm going to match those two together. And, a lot of time spent on SEOing, making sure your site is technically up there, content. But if you invest that time and energy and you do it properly, then it will generate results there as well. It will come back to you. And it's saying whatever you choose, guys, you've got to invest in it. You've got to think about it. You've got to be strategic about it. Just don't go as a knee-jerk, I must do X, unless you've actually fully thought it through.
And be consistent, because the number of businesses that I see that have something like that, they invest in the shiny new website, they record the video, hello on the welcome page, and then that's it. There are a couple of short blogs, maybe 300 to 500 words of articles, but they leave it. And firstly, those articles are really too short to do any good to anybody. But it's something that's got to be kept current and maintained and grow, and adding content, adding useful content, adding things that your customers will be looking for to your website. You've got to be consistent. Otherwise, it's like opening a shop down a dark back alley, having a beautiful shop front and some fantastic stock, but only having a few things in your shop, and expecting people to find it and just randomly stumble across it. So what you have to do is, if you're going to be found on Google, is make sure that you're doing all the things that will help SEOs. The way that SEO works is to find you. So be consistent. It's not, there's my website, that's done. That'll be it now for the next few years, and then I'll update it with some more photos. It's I try and do something to mine at least every week, and that something could be a 2,000 to 3,000 word blog, a new video, something like that. Most of the time. So,
do you remember a film called The Field of Dreams with Kevin Costner?
I do, yes. If they build it,
they will come. That happens in the movies, folks. It doesn't happen to websites or open up your business and say, here I am, come on in. It takes time for people to know you, to build it up, and blah, blah, blah. So, listen, if you're Kevin Costner, if you're building a baseball pitch, a baseball diamond in the middle of nowhere, it'll work. For all of us mere mortals, it won't.
It won't. And the other thing is, people give up just before they're about to be successful with stuff. So it takes about 6 to 12 months for Google to trust you, and then you'll see sort of a hockey stick boost. I mean, I've seen that with my own sort of website activities. If you're consistent, it'll tick over, and you'll think, I'm not making any headway with this, and then there comes a point where it takes off. And I think social media is like that as well. When you're
it's about consistency, correct? Absolutely. Yeah. It's about turning up. They used to have this old idea about like the England football team, not much good, but at least they turned up. Turning up means it's people get that idea that you're there, You're there for the long term. And, you know, in terms of due diligence, by the way, I know we're going off on a tangent slightly here, but when businesses do business with other businesses, one of the things they want to do when they actually look at the financial records of a company, they look at the track record, it's never about can they deliver, it's about sustainability. The client has to think you're going to be here next week, the week after, because you're going to be part of my supply chain. And that's what your potential clients are thinking as well. You know, turn up, do it consistently, put the sweat in, and the equity will come out later on.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, at the moment, Mahmood, I'm really rethinking some of my social media in terms of being on a platform at all. You know, I enjoy it. I get a lot of entertainment from it, and I've met some amazing people from a particular channel that I'm thinking about coming off. So, yeah, but just when I look at it in the round, the return on investment, I get a lot more from through Google in terms of conversions, because that it's so important to be able to track when you're scaling your effort, your investment, your time versus how many conversions you are ultimately generating.
Would it be fair to say then, Joe, that you're picking up on what we're talking about tonight, this idea about focused marketing, and that in itself creates some time for you to sort of grow your business as well?
Yeah. So if you're looking to scale and grow, do what works for you, do what converts. Don't just do what you think you should be doing because everybody else should be doing it. And there's a lot of noise out there and people, you know, promoting how to do various things and what the latest thing is. So do what converts for you and keep at it and keep an eye on the changes because that can release a load of time. It really
100%.
can.
And I think coming out of all this, whatever you do, folks, you've got to think about you, your business, your idea of success, your idea of who your customers are. And once you've got that, there's a wonderful phrase I think I've heard you use a few times, which I have to say I borrowed, about your office is a rubbish place to have your thoughts. It's the worst place to dump them out. But just articulate and think about your business, your customers, what you offer, why people like you, why people buy from you. And that's your framework of understanding that actually you can then use that to upscale and do all those wonderful things that we've talked about, not just on today's broadcast, but previous ones.
Yeah, so it's your head is a rubbish office.
That's it.
Yeah, not your office is a rubbish. Your office is a rubbish.
I knew the word rubbish was in there somewhere, so.
I know what you meant.
Yeah,
I know what you meant. You made me laugh. Sorry. So. But your head is a rubbish office. You know, it's clear your head and get into carving out some good time for growth. So you do need a growth plan with specific actions to take, not just some targets and some vision that one day you might be here. You need to know what your next actions are as part of that growth plan. So what's the destination? What are your next actions? And then schedule time for those actions in your diary. And it doesn't have to be full days or full weeks or anything. You know, find an hour a day if possible. And I know it can be really challenging if you have to be reactive to various customer things that are going on in your day job. But if you're working with us, you're at a stage now where you're starting to get that team around you. And you might want to reinforce that team and build that team and get some more skills in. But you should be in a position now where you're starting to delegate and just limit the time that you spend reacting and bouncing around. I call it whack-a-mole leadership. Do you know what I mean by whack-a-mole?
Yeah, those things that pop up and all you're doing is that you're reacting all the time, and it's stressful. It doesn't do your thought process much good, and all that happens is you will find it very difficult to upscale. And look, I think one of the reasons why I'm so enthused about this particular topic here is having gone through that pain point and probably still experience it every now and again. So it's not perfection. Exactly that. You know, you've got to make that time, because making that time, it seems like a real ball breaker. It seems like, I haven't got time to do that. But do it, and I promise you'll feel much clearer and you'll feel more in control and you'll regain your business back.
It comes more down to self-discipline and habit than it does about real need, real time. In the vast majority of cases, there are times where we do need to just roll our sleeves up and get stuck into a problem or an opportunity. But actually, most of the time, it is about discipline and habit, and having people who can help you be accountable and hold you accountable for your commitments can really help as well. So that's one of the ways that Mahmood and I, we help people we hold them accountable for, they said they were going to spend some time, they said they were going to do, work on whatever it is, and have they done that? And that could be really useful, finding someone who can work with you.
Makes me think, going back to previous shows here. So look, again, in terms of behaviour changes, do not expect to change behaviour rapidly overnight. You've got to do it very incrementally and very slowly and reinforce that. So if there's a particular task that you keep putting off, just take one small thing and commit yourself to either doing that first thing in the morning or doing that, but keep doing it on a regular basis. You will find after a period of time that then becomes part of your natural behaviour there as well. And then you can look to change other things. But don't suddenly think, from today, this is how I behave, and then tomorrow it's all going to change, because you're doomed to failure then.
Yeah. My favourite book on that, because I always got a favourite book on anything, you know me, is Atomic Habits by James Clear. And it's about starting with micro habits and then building up, and also micro habits that give you, there's no excuse not to do them. So if you have a micro habit to do one press up a day, you'd have to have some seriously significant excuses not to do that press up. And if you're going to do one while you're down there, you might as well do a few more. So that's how that sort of mentality works as well. So just say, even if you say, I'm going to do 15 minutes, anybody can find 15 minutes or do 15 minutes most days. Do 15 minutes, and you might find that you get engrossed in what you're doing, and it leads to doing more things, and you find more time to work on it. So and just really limit emails and the time you spend on that sort of stuff. Look at them first thing in the morning, in the middle of the day, and the end of the day, and then that's it, instead of getting sucked into chasing.
Turn off notifications.
Yeah, all of that stuff. But anyway, you all know all of this stuff. So, but it doesn't hurt to be reminded. So we would love to know, what are your scale-up plans? Get in touch with us. You can find us on our website, mahmoodandjoe.com, and contact us. Let us know. And we've got some great resources that we're working on. And we're also have got a series of scale-up webinars coming along as well that we'll be doing later in the year. So if you want to know more about those and be the first to know, then get on that mailing list, and you'll hear about those very, very soon.
Absolutely. And folks, if you've got any comments, by the way, if there's things that you want discussed and aired, obviously me and Joe got a good idea of what we'd like to talk about, but this is as much a show broadcast for you guys out there. So if you've got some thoughts, if you don't actually agree with what we're saying, we're happy. We love debate, we love conversation. We don't always me and Joe, believe it or not, I know it might not seem like it, we don't always agree with each other. We agree on the important things. We've got the same set of integrity, the same sort of values, the same idea of what we want, the same idea of wanting people to, be better at what they do and grow. But in terms of personal things between ourselves, over the last year that we've worked together, and I have to say it's one of the best business decisions I've made personally, there are things that we don't actually see the same way. But we're happy to discuss them, debate them, and come back to a resolution on them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
All of those positives I would share right back with you as well, Mahmood, from my point of view too. And it is about debate, but it's about listening to that and being stimulated to think differently and take on different views, because I think we're in a world at the moment where our choices are reinforced, our existing views are reinforced, because if we're on social media shows us more of what we like, and it shows us things that are consistent with the way we already view the world. Even if we're watching Netflix, or YouTube or something like that, we're presented with more of what we like and things that are more consistent with the way that we think. But business, to really fulfill our potential, we need to be open to ideas that aren't consistent with our own, because that's where some magic can happen. If we want to think differently and be innovative, successful, growth-led business leaders, then hearing a range of different insights and then formulating your own view from that with critical thinking is where it's at. So if you want intelligent material, if you want intelligent debate and discussion, and and some fun as well, then that's sort of where we're at, because we know that's the magic ingredients for growth and a successful business, and actually enjoying being in business as well.
No, I would say
well,
hang on, because what's going to spoil that slightly, having finished off with that do no more about intelligent conversation, are we going to reveal to the world the two characters that we introduced at the beginning?
Yes. Well, this is the fun bit, isn't it? So the two characters on the Muppet Show, they're the guys that sit up in the balcony and comment on everything. So Mahmood and I were having a bit of fun earlier, and we said we sound just like those two from the Muppets.
We're having a bit of a moan about certain things in the business world, business community, and that just popped into our heads about those two characters there.
Yeah. By the way, if you are a person who starts off things saying, "I am delighted to be presenting at this certain event," and starting your things off like that, we're just thinking, oh, for goodness sake. So that's what we were talking about. And apologies if that was you, but please don't do it. Like, we don't need it. All right.
Fantastic.
There we go.
Have a brilliant week, everyone. We'll look forward to seeing you guys next week. Yeah. Should we play out some music, Joe? What do you think?
I think we should. Let's rock it out.
Let's rock it out. I love this music. So here we go. But folks, have a great week. We'll see you on the other side next week.
Hi there, welcome to today's Business Growth Club show. We are so pleased to have you here. The theme is growth marketing.
We're talking about actions and consequences today.
It's all about purpose.
Driving business growth with using KPIs.
We're talking money mindset.
The Growth Club, I mean, not to oversell it, but it's so well organised. So yeah, it was totally invaluable.
The Growth Club, coupled alongside with the Masters that I'm doing at Strategic Leadership at the moment, both of those things happening collectively have definitely transformed, and the Growth Club did have a massive impact for our business.
What is it that attracted you to come to the Growth Club in the first place? Let me just start off with that.
Well, because it was the two of you.